Hello, friends. So better late than never. Bible study, the NIV Acts, chapter 10. We're going to do 1 through 23, which has 2 parables in it. And since I seem to announce them, whether I say them in advance or not, I'm just not going to bother. The first one is called Cornelius Calls for Peter. At Caesarea, there was a man named Cornelius, centurion in what was known as the Italian regiment. So there you are, Italy representing. He and all his family were devout and God-fearing. He gave generously to those in need and prayed to God regularly. One day, about 3 p.m, he had a vision. He distinctly saw an angel of God who came to him and said, "Cornelius." Cornelius stared at him in fear. "What is it, Lord?" he asked. The angel answered, "Your prayers and gifts to the poor have come up as a memorial offering before God. Now send men to Joppa to bring back a man named Simon, who is called Peter." It's like I was trying to make it one name. Simon, who is called Peter. He is staying with Simon the tanner, whose house is by the sea. Which I have to tell you would not smell so fantastic. So, just because they go and they stay places with people doesn't mean there's any opulence going on. This is a working man. When the angel who spoke to him had gone, Cornelius called of his 2 of his servants and a devout soldier who was one of his attendants. He told them everything that had happened and sent them to Joppa. God said, "Do?" And Cornelius said, "Yes, Lord." I mean, I don't think it's every day that people see visions and, hear voices from the sky. So, that would also be my default, I think. Unless I was under some sort of medication or it had a bump on the head. Or at least I'd like to think. Peter's vision. So this is verse 9. About noon the following day, as they were on their journey and approaching the city, Peter went up on the roof to pray. He became hungry and wanted something to eat. And while the meal was being prepared, he fell into a trance. Some more psychic abilities. He saw heaven opened and something like a large sheet being let down to the earth by its 4 corners. So that would be sort of like this. Okay. It contained all kinds of 4-footed animals, as well as reptiles of the earth and birds of the air. Now this is important because we're getting into some specifics here, right? Then the voice told him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." Okay, so Jewish food customs prevent him from eating some of these kinds of animals. 4-footed, yes, but not it can't be pigs because of the type of foot they have. Right? There's a certain type they're not allowed to eat. They're not allowed to eat reptiles. They're not allowed to eat snakes. They're not allowed to eat certain things. Some of those foods are like curses to them to eat. They're not manna. They wouldn't consume them because they're not allowed to. Nothing of the bottom feeders. I mean, the Jewish God like to keep kosher. It's a big, long list. "Surely not, Lord," Peter replied. "I have never eaten anything impure or unclean." The voice spoke to him a second time. "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." This happened 3 times, and immediately the sheet was taken back to heaven. Okay, so 3 times. Okay? Because Peter is a stubborn man, and because he denied Christ 3 times, just like Christ told him that he would. So Christ made him repeat that he loved him 3 times, but with different types. Because there's agape, right, which is a brotherly love, agape, right? And then there was a different pronunciation. Starts with an L. I can't remember what it is right now, but that one is more like friends, friendly associates, because agape would be like literally like a brotherly love, like a bond between actual people of family. But it's what you would get in like a military. People would say this kind of thing to each other. Are we brothers in arms? Like, do you love me? Are we brothers in arms? Yes, Lord, you know we are. Right? And then, are we friendly associates? Do we not have the same job? Yes, Lord, you know we do. That my mission is your mission. Do you love me like a brother? He had to say it 3 times, and Peter felt hurt because he hurt Jesus when he said it every single one of those times. Like if you're keeping up with Chosen season 4, you're feeling it. You're feeling Jesus is hurt. He's died for these people, and they didn't even understand what he was dying for. You feel his pain, his frustration when he's trying to do what he's supposed to do, and he can't, and they don't even fully understand, right? So this happened 3 times because it has to, because Peter's stubborn. Well, that's why he's the rock. The devil is not going to be able to shake him. Sometimes Jesus has to shake his noggin and knock him upside the head, man. Well, Peter was wondering about the meaning of the vision. The men sent by Cornelius found out where Simon's house was and stopped at the gate. They called out and asked if Simon, who was known as Peter, was staying there. While Peter was thinking about the vision, the Spirit said to him, Simon, 3 men are looking for you. So get up and go downstairs. Do not hesitate to go with them, for I have sent them. So pretty specific. Peter went down and said to the men, I am the one you are looking for. Why have you come? The men replied, we have come from Cornelius the centurion. He is righteous and a God-fearing man who is respected by all the Jewish people. A holy angel told him to have you come to his house so he could hear what you have to say. Then Peter invited the men in the house to stay as guests. So the next day, because this actually goes into another parable, but it is the other half of verse 23, which is Peter at Cornelius' house. The next day, Peter started out with them, and some of the brothers from Joppa went along. So, just like all the other apostles, no matter how high and mighty Peter is in the church, and he is indeed the rock, he's so the rock that sometimes God has to treat his head like it's a rock. And I'm a stubborn individual myself. When watching Chosen, I have a whole, me and Peter, and it's not because of anything physical about him or anything like that. It's not that kind of thing. I am Taurus Sun, Taurus Moon, Libra Ascendant, Libra North Node. So Venus energy entirely. And then you get into the asteroids, and that's how you start doing the healing, right? And how you do the healing. I have 1 Aries, which means I can get fiery, right? I have an action taker. That's Mars action taker energy. I have 1 Virgo, which means slow and steady is really what I should be doing. And then all the rest of it is also in Taurus, which means I am stubborn. So I identify with Peter because I have had, my fair share of troubles in this life that I have had to overcome. And there always seems to be something going on in somebody's life around me that they come to me and they want counsel, or I have to have something in my life going on that I need to go to them to get counsel. Right? I mean, because that's how life is. You have to have the people around you where you can trust their judgment. If there is no trust, then there is no love, and there is no reason to ask that person any questions. If you question their judgment, then asking their advice does nothing. Right? Ultimately, we're supposed to be asking the on high and then waiting for signs. Okay? And you'll know the signs because you ask the on high a question, and then he sends you somebody with the answer. And if you're a person that he likes to send to people as answers, as an earth angel, he will tell you when it's your time to go. Now, I will tell you that it is supposed to be you courting an individual relationship with the On High. Yes, he will send you people. But you are not, like, if you really look at the story of what's going on with the Jewish people, why do all these Jewish people die if the kings do bad things? I am myself from genetic testing and stuff, have a different, all kinds of different descendancies into other royal lines, and you see that kind of pattern. If you're a king and you're a people who want a king and you want to have one consolidated leader, then whatever choices they make, even if they're sinful, they fall down on the rest of the nation. It's just the way it's meant to work, because he never said he wanted kings. He told Samuel to tell the people, I don't want this. And the people came back and said, we want it anyway. So he was like, all right, they want it. It's a free will choice. We'll give it to them. We're just going to give them terrible. We're going to see what happens. Absolute power corrupts absolutely is the phrase, right? So he never takes away our free will. He never does. That's not how it is. We are the ones who want to take the free will away from other people. He doesn't tell us to do that. He doesn't interact with us that way. That's an us thing. It's really, opposition thing. That's the opposition getting to us thing. It's really what that is. So, it's how we decide to give in. It's all of our choices. And he lets our own choices be the thing he judges. Our outward actions to the world, our thoughts and our feelings, what our intentions are when we're interacting, that is what he judges us by. It's always his measure. It doesn't matter if the rest of the world says it's okay, if he says it's wrong. I mean, that's just what it is. It's all a test of my will to thy will. Right? That's what it is. So it's going to be a matter of how we interact. Peter is high and mighty in the church, and yet God says, get up, don't question anything, and go. Now, he is going to have him staying at the house of somebody who does not necessarily obey the Jewish eating customs, because he's sending them to a Gentile. As much as we look at Italy now and we look at Rome and it's got the Pope and we're like, no, they're the most holy of all the Christians, right? We look at that now. Not in this day they weren't. In this day, Italy, Rome, was still worshiping multiple gods. They had not adopted Christianity. The fact that there is even an Italian and who's a centurion who's a Christian is a big deal. Just like the other day on Chosen with Gaius, where it became such a big deal. The level of faith, the way they had Gaius being the centurion, that no, you don't need to come to my house. All you have to do is say he is healed from right here, right now, and he will be healed there by the time I get home. And I know he will. I don't need you to prove anything more to me. I've seen you prove everything I need to see. Because that is what faith is. Having that level of conviction. Because Gaius, at least says that, who was a real person, wasn't Italian. He was actually a Celt. So, and it's not that far off the belief structure of what would have been Druidic, which is what the Celts would have had before the Romans invaded. And they would have held on to until after the Romans converted to Christianity, because that's how historically that would happen with the sweeping of Christianity across Europe. Okay? So, and that's got mixed emotional reactions from people. So this is a big deal. This is a reminder that no matter how important we feel we are in the world with whatever the structure is and whatever that power structure is, when God comes to you and he's talking to you, especially because both these men had visions, telling them that they are supposed to talk to each other. Now in the Old Testament, and you will hear it coming up in 2 weeks, in the daily reading stuff, if you want to know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to wait until June 29th and go watch that daily reading and get all the way to the homily to find out what I'm talking about. There were 2 other people in the Old Testament thing that was 2 prophets that One of them was given a specific mission, was almost done with their mission, and somebody else came along who was also a prophet, a known other prophet, and tested them. And because this came from somebody else they knew was a prophet, they no longer listened to God. And then if you want to find out, you're going to have to go watch that one because I talk about what it is. So this is kind of like a repeat of the same thing. Two people, because they never tell us what the old prophet was told, if the old prophet was told to tell this person this lie or not. We don't know why he ever did it. Where I'm at in my Bible study, we haven't gotten to that place where we find out. Like, the last time I read this, I was a child. I don't remember. So for me, it's new all over again. So I'm getting a good adult perspective. That's why I get on here and share this stuff with you guys, because it makes me like, oh, listen, I am seeing these repeating patterns coming from the Old Testament to the New Testament, because it's the same lesson. And this is the lesson I'm supposed to be sharing with you guys at this time, because this is the lesson the Holy Spirit is giving me. There is a repeating of patterns from the tribes from the Old Testament into the New Testament with the people, how the things are going. There's a repeat. So Peter is obeying. No matter how important we are in this world, we are always subject to divine timing. Our world always goes as he says it shall. And you either trust him so you follow, or you don't. Now, you're supposed to ask and then listen for an answer. And if he's told you to do something, unless he tells you directly to deviate, you do not. Because that is also his commandment. It doesn't matter if somebody comes in and gives you other information. Maybe he sends you to a place to do something other than what you thought he sent you to do. Because he does that with the apostles as well. Peter has no idea what this centurion wants from him. The centurion doesn't even know what he wants from Peter, other than God said he needs to come to your house. So he will. That's it. He told Philip, get up and go walk down that road. So he found the Ethiopian. That Ethiopian will take his faith back to Ethiopia, and it will set off a chain of events. Philip won't see that because he's off someplace else doing the same thing with other people. Right? Peter was in the area because Philip started something, and then Peter came to finish it off. Right? We have other people in other parts of it where they're off doing other things. This stuff is what is going on. This is the building of the church. The building of the faith that we now get to enjoy. Right? So this is how it starts. This is a reminder that we're not ever really in control. He is always in control. We can't hide anything from him, and he has given us a set of instructions. Peter doesn't know what it is, but there's going to be something about where he's going, and it might have something to do with eating things he normally wouldn't eat. Like he was pre-warned not to get in his stubborn, thick-headed self and refuse the hospitality of someone that's being offered. That sounds pretty specific. It makes me wonder what part of my future is going to entail such things, if it shall or if it shan't. But maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's just for me to share because it's a connection that one of you out there needs. So as we go about the world today, remember that we are to respond politely to people around us when they give us whatever it is that is the best that they can muster in that moment. Because if that's the best they can do, then they're giving to you from the fullest that they can. And what God wants from each of us is to be filled with as much Holy Spirit as He can. And it doesn't matter, to quote a parish priest I know, if that is a thimble or if that is a flagon. One is not more holy than the other. The importance is that we're being the best people we can be by treating everybody around us with the most compassion and grace and respect as we can muster. Because that's really what being the best version of us that we can be even really looks like by His measure, which is the only measure that actually counts. He will correct us 100% of the time. The difference is, are we listening in a way that we understand? Are we hearing Him correctly? Or are we only looking to hear what we want to hear? I encourage you to hear correctly, because that's really, really how the disappointing stuff stops happening. Ask him what he wants you to do instead, and you'll get a lot further. Because he wants to talk to you directly, not through a whole bunch of other people. You just have to be paying attention.